Hey there, everybody. Seth Campbell here again with this week's new Segue Says podcast. Well, this week we're going to return to one of my favorite themes, and that is combining a modern hit with a classic hit. And the two songs this week are Unaware by Alan Stone and Babylon Sisters by Steely Dan. And if anyone from my Berkeley ensemble from this past semester is watching this, you may remember me agonizing, saying sooner or later I was going to figure out how to blend Unaware with Babylon Sisters, because we played Unaware in my ensemble. And the thing that connects these two is a very distinctive drum beat that's known in music circles as the Purdie Shuffle. It's like a shuffle groove, but it's half time. So the kick and the snare only occur half as often as you'd expect. So and once again, it's very difficult to imitate drums with just a voice. Actually, you know what? Let me try something here. There's a drum patch in here somewhere. If I can just find it. Yeah, here's a hi-hat, kick and snare. So this, I can't believe I'm doing this. This is what the Purdie Shuffle sounds like. As opposed to a regular shuffle. That's not quite how a regular shuffle goes, but you can see the halftime effect of it. And it's called the Purdie Shuffle because a legendary soul funk drummer named Bernard Purdie came up with it. It's credited to him. It comes from a lot of his Chicago blues roots. And he played this on he's played this on a number of records. He's a famous session guy. Most notably, he did it twice with Steely Dan. And one of them was Babylon Sisters, but the first time he did it was Home at Last, which is on the previous record. So this is a pretty famous groove, and it's since been used in a lot of songs, including Unaware by Alan Stone. Now, the version of Unaware I'm basing this off of, I mean, they're both fairly similar, but there's the album version on the album Alan Stone, and then there's a version that I really hope he releases as a single someday. It's probably the more famous version. There's a YouTube music video called Unaware, Alan Stone live from his mother's living room. He basically set up his band and played a slightly stripped-down acoustic version where the groove is a little bit simpler, so the Purdie Shuffle is much clearer. Now, you've got the two songs with the same drum groove. You'd think, okay, well, this should be pretty easy. But it's not, because the keys of these songs are difficult to determine. Unaware starts in E Lydian, although it feels like it's in B, but it never lands on B. Then goes through a really demented bridge and ends in G Lydian, although it sounds like it should be in D, but again, never hits the D. So, and that's just Unaware. Babylon Sisters, it is impossible to determine. You'll be lucky if you can isolate a 4-bar phrase and say this phrase is in this key, because it keeps changing. So, I'm going to demonstrate a little bit of each to you. This is a verse, chorus, and then tag, if you will, of Unaware before the key change, just because this is easier to sing, and then I'll demonstrate the segue with the part in the changed key. Every day the deficit grows. You spend more than you own. Papa always said to me, keep a close eye on your authority. You say that you can. I was unaware. You say that you can. tear, can't stretch it any farther. Push, pull, tear, can't stretch it any farther. Push, pull, tear, can't stretch it any farther. Push, pull, tear. And it goes on to the second verse. Now there's a distinct pattern here of anticipating the third beat. So it's 1, 2, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 4, and 1, and 2, and that is going to become very important when it comes to the segue. Now just briefly, because it's so weird, I want to show you the bridge, because it's an organ solo and it goes over push, pull, tear. Does a whole push-pull-tear thing again in this new key. And it just ends on, these three chords make up most of the song. And so it just ends on this E minor. You can do a little ornamentation on it. But that ending is what we're going to utilize for Babylon Sisters. Now, as I mentioned, Babylon Sisters is insane. Tell you what, I mean, I'm sure many of you have heard it. It was a hit. But for those of you who haven't heard it, I'm going to play you the instrumental intro through the first verse and chorus. Tell me what key it's in. I dare you. Just in case you thought you had it figured out, here's the verse. Time west on sunset to the sea. Turn that jungle music down, just until we're out of town. And this is no one night stand, it's a real occasion. Close your eyes and you'll be there. It's everything they say. The end of a perfect day. Distant lights from across the bay. Babylon sisters, shake it. Babylon sisters, shake it. So fine, so young. Tell me I'm the only one. Thought you had it figured out, didn't you? Here come those Santa Ana winds again. And then it finally loops to the beginning of the verse. So like I said, it changes key every few bars. So we can't work with the key. We have to work with where it starts. And that is on this F sharp. And you'll notice again, like I mentioned with Unaware, you have this anticipated 3 beat. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 4. So we have a pattern that's an F sharp major. We have a pattern that's G major 7, F sharp minor, E minor, back to the F sharp minor, back up and down again, to ends on the E minor, and we want to go to this F, but we want to land harmonically strong. We wouldn't want to just do. You could do that, but now you feel like you're off by half a measure, and it'll wreck the Purdie Shuffle groove. Especially so if you have a drummer, you need to let the cycle play out. Now, as I mentioned, it's a whole step above. So if you wanted to just let the ending E minor ring out a little bit, you can start this pattern, which again is already found in Unaware, so it won't sound weird. Start in the E minor in the left hand. The advantage is, while that sounds weird, there's a bunch of weird instrumental stuff coming up in Babylon Sisters anyway, so it's not going to sound out of place amidst that. And if you wanted to, you can embellish it with a little bit of a walk-up. So you're just playing the fifth, so it's E and B, then it'd be F and C, F sharp, C sharp. And as you might have guessed, because these songs are so bizarre, there's no way to go back, because you end Babylon Sisters in a totally different place than where you started, and where you started isn't even related to Unaware anyway. I mean, Babylon Sisters has a great ending anyway. It loops this. But every other time it does the best chord change in the whole song. You got to shake it, baby, you got to shake it, baby, you got to shake it. Here it is again. That so much. This is how the live version ends. So again, weird enough on its own. You don't need to bring it back to Unaware. But that is how that one works. It's a great example of when you have a historically famous drum groove, you can utilize that as a link between two songs that are otherwise very disparate. So rhythm alone can make for a great segue. The songs don't have to have anything else in common, although these ones do have the anticipation, but that's really part of the drum groove. So that's how that works. And you can probably, if you're up for coming up with some crazy key changes, you could probably link in any other songs that have a Purdie Shuffle drum or a variation of the Purdie Shuffle drum. And just as a fun trivia fact, there is a great story about Bernard Purdie that I absolutely love. He's a really funny guy. You listen to his interviews, he's really, he kind of pretends to be full of himself a little bit. He's really cool, and you know, he's a legend. He's earned it. When he was recording with Steely Dan the first time, when they brought him in to do Home at Last on the Asia album, which is the first time they used the Purdie Shuffle, Donald Fagen and Walter Becker recalled, this is in the Classic Albums documentary about the Asia record, that Purdie had gotten all of his cymbals and everything out of his case, and the drums looked like they were all set up, and he went back to his case, and they couldn't figure out what he was doing. He took out this big, sort of like one of those plastic road signs that you see, and he put it on one side of his drum kit. It said, "You done it." And they were looking at each other like, okay, what's this? He goes back to his drum case, takes out another sign, puts it on the other side of the drum case, and says, "You done hired the hitmaker, Bernard Purdie." So, you know, it's not really related to the Segue, but it's a funny story about an awesome and charismatic musician without whom this Segue would not be possible. So this one's for Purdie. And for all of you, hopefully you've enjoyed watching. As always, I'll see you next week.